I don't know, whatever sort of gift you want to put on your machine, you can put that there. Really cool little product. The Panda Extruder is a beautiful little CNC lightweight extruder replacement for your P1 or X1. Cool because you can get in there without opening it up and clear out debris and dust.
Oh, yeah.
If you got stuff stuck in there, so that's a pretty neat little thing. This is the Panda Sense. So this is a chamber temperature and humidity sensor for the Panda Touch. Plugs into the back of the Panda Touch, and it sits magnetically inside the chamber of your P1 series machines to give you that humidity and temperature sensing, similar to what the X1 sees. This is the Panda Turbo, not released yet, so we've just got it on display here, but basically this magnetically mounts to the back of the machine where the exhaust port is, and then it gives you CPAP level cooling, and you can select if you want the air to come from outside or from inside, so it's just circulating chamber air, just using that lever over there. So that is the Panda Turbo coming soon. We also have collaborated with Huforge, and we're doing this tiny little cool TD1, now known as the TD1S. This is entered into sort of final beta stage testing now and should be available in the next few weeks. So that is for Huforge. It gives you your transmission distance. Very cool product. You got the Panda Breeze over here. This gives you cross-flow cooling on the A1 series, much in the same way that you can get it on the P1 and X1 series. And what this will do is it mounts onto your A1 and then it blows across your print, so that you just get that enhanced extra cooling. Mounts perfectly onto it. Beautiful little thing. It has a light built into it too. The light will follow the printer light. So it provides illumination and extra cooling. And then we have Panda Power, which is pretty cool. So this is a Wi-Fi connected smart plug, 2 USB ports on it. One of them is controllable. The other one is always on. So that can feed power to your Panda Touch. And what it does, it allows you to turn your machine on and off just using a simple little button on your Panda Touch. So instead of reaching around and turning your machine on and off on the P1 series, you just tap the button on the touchscreen, your machine's off. You tap the same button, your machine's back on. All done with this little guy over here. There's a controllable USB port that you can use to power an LED strip or even an indicator light. You can make it such that it turns the light on when the machine is printing and off when the machine is done. So you know if it's still busy. Yeah, you can set this to turn the machine off when the print is done and the hot end temperature drops below 50 degrees Celsius. So it's safe to turn off. It'll automatically turn it off, so it's not just sitting on the power network drawing power.
So power consumption.
Yeah, it gives you full readings of your voltage, your power, your amperage. So you know how much power each print is consuming. Panda Claw is the little extruder gear upgrade for the Bamboo series. So that is hardened tool steel on the extruder gear. It's been nano coated, so it does look golden, but it's actually hardened tool steel. And this is a brass spur gear that I have in my hand there. Yeah, and that would go onto the A1 or the P1 series, one for each. Yeah, that's a beautiful upgrade to make your machine super robust and hardened against those abrasive filaments. This is the cool little thing, enhanced cooling. So we're cooling from all directions. The jetpack, lightweight as well, and it also just looks cool. Let's be honest. Sometimes it's just cool to be able to do something to your machine that just looks different, stand out. So that's
modify the printer.
Yeah. I mean, there's people who don't want to do it, but there's people who do. And you got to cater to all the different ranges and likes out there. The Panda Revo is very cool. So it brings that Revo quick change functionality to the Bamboo series of printers. So, instead of having to undo plugs, and I've ripped stuff off my board before when I've tried to take plugs out and had to replace the board. Now you don't have to worry about that, because to change out the hot end, even if you get a clog, is literally just a matter of unscrewing the nozzle, popping it out, and then screwing the new nozzle back in. And then it's done. No more messing with connectors. And it's high flow as well, so you get far more flow out of it than your stock Bamboo hot end. Panda Lux is not here, but it is one of the coolest upgrades that we do, and one of the most cost-effective. If you come over here, you'll see what I mean. You can definitely see the lighting in here is better than stock, right? You can see what's going on in there, and that's because of this. Little magnetic bar plugs into the stock plug, super easy to install. Look, I'll show you how easy to install it is. You just do this, and it's it. And that's the Panda Lux. And you get that much more light, so you can actually see what's going on your print. And you can see the crossbars are still going at it. It's at a crazy angle now. So yeah, those are some of our Bamboo series. It is a really, really cool range that we're working on. We have some really cool stuff coming through. We're really excited about. 2025 is going to be a cool year for these products. And honorary mention is this, which is our new filament, PLA-HR. Stands for PLA High Resilience. And it does basketballs like no other, like super, super cool basketballs. And yeah, I think Uncle Jesse, Clayton's done a video on it. Mark, Teaching Tech, did a video on it. So
Wow.
job, very, very cool filament too.
So where can people go and find these amazing materials?
If you want to find these cool products and this great material, you can go to bq.equipment. That is BIQU.equipment. And everything will be there, yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming by.
If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, like this video.
Coolest things in 3D printing right now are these kits. There's parts that you get, and then you 3D print the rest of it, and then you put it together. Back in the day, you'd go to the hobby store and you'd buy a box. In the box would be a bunch of plastic parts that you'd put together, and then you could add stuff to it. So instead of that, you go to a store or an online store and you get parts like electronics and connectors and wires and stuff. And then you go to a website and you download models and you 3D print those, and then you've got yourself a product. And I've done this before. Look, these are the Hedamame headphones, and I absolutely adore these. I love the look. I love how they sound. It's a premium product that you help make at home. And one of the advantages here is customization, because if you're going to print the parts yourself, you get to choose the materials and the colors that you make it with. That's cool, which is why mine, of course, is made with High Five Blue. But the other really cool thing about this is right to repair and repairability. If for some reason the headband breaks or I mishandle some of my gyroid exposed infill, I can reprint the parts, I can fix my product, and I can continue to use it. It's brilliant. Next up, speakers. I'm talking about the FDM Geos from Deposition Sound. And ooh, this was cool because recently we had our big holiday live stream, and Morgan from Hedamame was here, and Waldo from Deposition Sound was here, and actually they took a picture together, posted it to Twitter. Someone commented, "I could hear this picture." It was just that's perfect. But Waldo and Yvonne are Deposition Sound. They make these 3D printable speaker kits that you can acquire. So you get the cool speaker bits, and then you 3D print the parts, and then you've got yourself a premium product that you get to customize and can repair if for some reason something breaks. And I've printed the parts. Check this out. There you go. Let's go through the parts because I'm really proud of how these turned out. You go on the website. You can get the parts from. I know I got them from Printables, and I printed them on the Prusa XL and the Prusa Mark IVS. The ones. Oh, wait. Can't forget the standoffs there. So first up on the XL is the body of the FDM Geos, and it's glorious. Just look at these. Oh, I used Prusament Galaxy Black, and I think it turned out wonderful. Now, these parts here, these were printed on the Mark IVS in the same Prusament Galaxy Black PLA, and they also turned out just exquisite. I love these. They're going to make really cool speakers. These are in Hi-Fi Blue PLA from Protopasta, of course, because this is the customization part. There's this little ring that goes around the inside, and it's this. And so I made it blue. I made it blue. So my speakers are going to be Galaxy Black and Hi-Fi Blue. And in order to put these together, I went and looked on the website. It said I needed some tools, and I think I found some tools. So, there's, screwdrivers, there's hex keys, stuff like that. Important though, a soldering iron with a heat set tip. You can use one of those heat set insert things. I think I have one somewhere. I can't find it. So a soldering iron with a heat set insert tip, that's what you need. You also need a pair of wire crimpers. Now, don't use the cutty bits, use the crimpy bits. And Yvonne, I texted Waldo and Yvonne, let him know I was going to do this. And Yvonne said, give it a tug test when you're done. Aye, aye, Captain. Last but not least, it does say, find yourself some cyanoacrylate super glue. How about some 3D glue? I think that's going to work. Actually, I talked to Waldo when he was here, and I was like, hey, Waldo, why don't we use 3D glue? And he's like, that's a good idea, Joel. Thank you. Now I just need the parts, and check this out. Deposition Sound sends you a box, and it's got a sticker with links and stuff to it. And you get your foam, you get your tweeters and your feet pads and your posts, some wire, the things to crimp, some screws. This is the crossover board, I think, something like that. And then inside here are the 5-inch treated paper cone woofers, and then heat set inserts. Oh, and stickers. And just like that, the speakers are built. But before we test them out, just a couple things that we have to go over. One of them is this, and it's not this. The threaded heat sets that were included, I didn't have the right tip for. And I was sad, and I thought I would have to use the standard soldering iron tip to put them in, and that would have made me really sad. But instead, I remembered years ago, Naomi Wu sent me this. This is for putting in heat set inserts. Like you set the position properly. The rubber band is what defines the force needed, and then you just put it down there. And it goes, and it sucks it right down. Naomi, I apologize. I don't know if you're ever going to see this, but I apologize for taking so long to put this together. This is an amazing tool. Thank you so very much. I really hope you're doing okay. The speakers, they're done. And they look, oh, these are, okay, I love the blue. I love the blue on it. I love the Prusament Galaxy Black. I think together they are fantastic, just fantastic. Deposition Sound did an amazing job putting together this kit. I think the documentation is about 75% there. I'd like to see more images, perhaps more videos. I was able to get it done, but there was some parts where I was slightly confused. Some parts where pictures showed something and the text didn't describe it, sort of thing. So I'll provide my feedback to Deposition Sound. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually incredible. The process of putting it together was fun, and I'm so happy they're together. Now, to test these properly, well, if you remember last time I 3D printed speakers years ago, I went to a secondhand store and bought an old receiver. That was then. Now we've got a better solution, and it's available via Amazon. So check this out. This is the SMSL High Resolution Power Amplifier A100. This is an amp that you can talk to via Bluetooth. It's perfect. I mean, you can use USB, you can use something else, but here's what I wanted. I wanted the ability to connect with my laptop or my iPhone wirelessly. And it's not expensive. It's about $100. I'll put a link down below. I am stoked. And these, I think this is 25 foot of wire, each one. Normally speaker wire, at least back in the day, speaker wire was kind of expensive. When Waldo was here for the stream, he had this, and I learned about it, and I bought one. And he had these wires. And I said, Waldo, are these expensive good, or are they good? And he said, they're good. Let me show you. Let me just get it out of the box and show you. Like, this is not sponsored. I went out and I bought it. Look at that. And I'm going to plug this in, hook it up, and we're going to see if we can hear something coming out of these speakers. We're powered on. Let's try. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Producer David did send me another one. Oh, man. I'm going to turn down a little bit because I'm so happy. I mean, a speaker that can play it loud is great. They still sound great when they are quiet. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. These are the FDM Geos from Deposition Sound. They're amazing. Remember, you get a kit, you 3D print the parts, and then you put it together. I did some things a little different. I used 3D Gloop instead of cyanoacrylate. Our brand PLA, not PET G. I think they do PET G. But listen, I am stoked. I'm stoked. And I really hope you come visit because I'll play you some stuff on these. And if you're interested in getting your own, there's a link down below. Because what I learned about Deposition Sound, Waldo and his brother Yvonne, this isn't their full-time gig. This is something that they're passionate about. And they wanted to make sure good quality sound was available to people who like to put their things together. And they've succeeded. Go down below and click that link and take a look. And then go find Deposition Sound on social media and just thank them because these are friggin' amazing. Well, listen, if you made it this far, you're awesome. Don't forget to hug each other more, fight for a cause you believe in, and just listen to all of the quality things. And as always, high five.
printer setup, awesome. But now you're staring at a page of filaments thinking, what do I even buy? Today, we're diving into the exciting world of 3D printing filament. This is going to be a quick summary of what to pick, when to use it, and a few tips to avoid those rookie mistakes along the way. My name's Jim, and this is The Edge of Tech. Welcome to the Edge of Tech Studios, proudly powered by STL Flix. There's a link in the description below if you want to save some serious money on STL Flix and check out what they've got to offer. So what is filament? Well, you can think of filament as ink for your 3D printer, but way cooler. It's actually rolled, extruded plastic that comes on a spool or a roll. We call them spools in 3D printing. And your printer uses this to melt and make magic. Or, the next cool thing you build, like this helmet. We're going to start with the basics, PLA. If you're new to 3D printing, PLA is going to be your best friend. It's like the beginner mode of filament. It's super easy to use, it's forgiving, and it doesn't need any crazy settings. PLA has the most variety when it comes to colors, types, and manufacturers, along with generally being really the cheapest filament you can get. So it's really great to start printing with because you can buy a bunch and it doesn't cost you a ton. Plus, it's more eco-friendly, so you can print without feeling so guilty too. I actually use PLA just about 95% of the time for pretty much anything that won't be used outside or in high UV or heat. I just love PLA, and it's like the easy button for 3D printing filament. You need something a little tougher. PETG is a great step up. It's stronger and more flexible than PLA. It's kind of like a mashup between PLA and ABS, which we'll talk about next. ABS, it's even stronger, but it's kind of a diva. It needs a heated bed and proper ventilation, and in most cases, an enclosure to really actually print pretty good. It's great for the pros, but maybe not for day one when you're just starting to learn how to 3D print. If I'm not using PLA, I'm actually always looking to PETG next before I go on to ABS, because most printers can print PETG more easily than ABS. Real quick, I want to jump in and talk about today's video sponsor, PCBWay. Thank you so much, PCBWay, for thinking of me during the holiday seasons. PETG or ABS. PLA, like I said earlier, not so good for that. It'll warp and get all weird on you. So if you're going to do anything with printing outside, definitely look into PETG or even ABS if you have the enclosure. If you're feeling adventurous, you can even check out something like a wood-filled filament or glow-in-the-dark or even metal-infused 3D printing filaments. The other cool stuff we have is all sorts of different kind of shiny, sparkly, crazy, fun stuff. And a lot of times this stuff is in PLA. I'm telling you, the colors you can get in PLA are just awesome. Although there is Joel's High Five Blue from Protopasta. That's a really sweet color as well. Now, when choosing 3D printing filaments, there's a couple things you want to watch out for. First being printer compatibility. Check your printer specs and make sure it prints the type of filament that you want to print. No one likes those surprises. I mean, this A1 Mini, which in my opinion is the best 3D printer for beginners to start with at $199, can pretty much print a ton of different filaments, but it wouldn't be great at something that needed an enclosure because there's not one. So make sure you check your 3D printer and just make sure the hot end goes to the right temperature, the bed goes to the right temperature if you're doing that high temp kind of stuff. For the most part, if you're going to stick with PLA, PETG, even TPU, this thing is going to be great for that. The other thing is experiment with your spools. Every spool is different. Play around, see what works for you. Run the calibrations, make that filament work and be the best it can be, and it's super easy to do. Slicers like Bamboo Slicer and Orca Slicer have calibrations built in, and it makes it crazy easy to just dial in that filament for your printer and get the most amazing prints that you can. Here's a pro tip: stick to single spools first. There's no need to commit to buy a lifetime supply from a single manufacturer when you don't even know if you're going to like it yet. Sometimes you can even grab like small spools to check it out, or even samples from those manufacturers if you reach out to them. So start there. It's a great place to try different filaments and not buy a ton of really big spools if you're not going to use it. The other thing is stick to trusted brands. Bargain filaments can be, it's kind of sketchy. Sometimes you can get really lucky, and sometimes the cheaper the filament, the more garbage it is. You're gonna be wondering why your printer's not printing correctly. It's just not doing a good job. Maybe the filament is wet or something, and it's just not great. So stick to the trusted brands. The brands I like are Bamboo Lab, Polymaker, Protopasta, Coex, Atomic. Man, there's a lot of them out there, but stick to the big ones if you can. It'll actually help you in the long run by not wasting money on garbage. Another pro tip and a must for FDM or 3D printing filament is to follow some easy steps when handling it. There are only 3 positions that the end of this filament ever should see. Number 1, clipped into the side of your spool somehow, whether it's in the little holes, if it's clipped to the side with a K2 clip, shout out to K2 Kevin. If it is slid into the slots, whatever it is, as long as it's secured to your spool. Number 2, in your hands, in your fingers. It's important that you don't let this go and you don't let it go flying around or anything like that, because it will get tangled and you're going to have a printing fail. It will stop printing, it'll get stuck, and you don't want that in the middle of a long 3D print. Number 3, inside the 3D printer, whether it's inside the MS, inside the hot end, but only inside of that 3D printer. So 3 places, either in the spool, in your fingers, or in the 3D printer. Never let this go. Never let it go springing around, or you're going to be unwinding it, and it's definitely not a pleasant thing. Trust me. And there you have it. That was a crash course in 3D printing filament. Are you ready to get started printing? Let me know in the comments below what color or type of filament you guys are excited to use. And if you find anything crazy out there, fun colors or types of filament, let me know below too. I'm always ready to check out new stuff. If you got value from today's video, please smash that like button. And if you want to see more 3D printing, laser, and CNC videos, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. And to check out the next video in the playlist, click this button right here.
Today we're going to be bringing the legendary Jedi Master Yoda to life. Now, I love the original trilogy's puppet, but I realize that I have way more of an attachment to the prequel design. I mean, I literally dressed up as him for Halloween when I was 9, and you better believe I was rocking those Grandmaster Yoda with a lightsaber vibes, so prequel it is. I'll be resin printing all of these Yoda pieces. Frozen recently sent me over one of their Mega 8KS machines to test out, so it seemed like the perfect time to finally get around to building a life-size Yoda. I decided to start with the feet, and I also kept these as solid resin pieces, which is why you see me really making sure that they're well supported here. The support projection tool in Lychee is one of my favorites. You select the area you want the supports to be generated in, can modify the intervals, and then clean everything up easily with the parent tool. Even then, I do still find myself going in and manually adding a few supports in here and there just to make sure that everything is supported appropriately. For this build, I went with a mixture of ABS-like and Superflex resin. It just gives it a bit more flexibility and toughness so that the parts are less likely to crack or chip in any way. Especially for Yoda, he has quite long nails that I feel like would be pretty prone to be broken off if you weren't careful, so anything to just try and mitigate any issues like that happening, I was absolutely on board for. The feet were also a good place to start because they ended up being the shortest print job at about 10.5 hours, and when that print job was finished, I hung the build plate on the drip hanger to let all of the excess resin drip back into the vat. And once I left that for a little bit, here is what the feet were looking like. There's still some excess resin on the surface of these prints, but once that's being cleaned off, you can really see the incredible detail that are in these feet. But on to the next round of pieces. I went with the hands and arms. I managed to fit all of them onto the single build plate, and I also hollowed these parts. I still kept them with like a 4mm shell, so they're not going to be weak by any means. The only real reason that I kept the feet solid is because I thought the added weight at the bottom of them might be beneficial. Once they were finished, I again let them drip dry, and this is what they looked like still on the build plate. The next round of pieces was the torso and legs. Now, clearly this is not exactly a clothed Yoda. I'm specifically printing the body-only version of these files so that I can add a fabric jumpsuit and robe later. And while I also decided to keep these parts hollow, I did a few tricks that I wanted to talk about. I added some hollowing blockers, specifically on the torso around the arm area to hopefully make that area a bit stronger. You know, that is where the arms are having to go, but this also made the printing process a lot easier, especially on these legs. You can see on the original hollow model how you have these squares just floating in midair, and these are on the bottom of the legs, so they are really floating, and there's not really an easy place to put any supports to help these print. But by adding a hollow blocker, it means that I can turn this entire section solid, which means I don't have to worry about any support. I still had it that the hole was going to run through this solid section, so it wasn't affecting the drainage for the resin whatsoever. And it does somewhat also have the benefit of being extra strong around the areas where parts start attaching to each other. I pretty much maxed out this printer's build volume with these two pieces on the single build plate. And even though these were mostly hollow other than those two solid areas that I added in, they still used like 1.7 liters of resin. They are very impressive looking pieces though, given that they are printed in resin. They have all of that incredible detail all over them, but because of all of the weight and just the size of the pieces, these ones were a bit unruly to deal with, but I managed in the end. But this brings us to our last round of pieces. I modified the head file to remove the eyes so that I could add my own custom ones, but because I want to do this, it means that I need a way to actually install these eyes. I thought about chopping off the neck essentially so that I could get my hand into this piece, but I realized it wasn't actually going to be large enough for me to get my hand into, so that is why I ended up slicing off the back of Yoda's head. So sorry for scarring you all. I also added the cane to this build plate, honestly because I kind of forgot he even had a cane, and so I figured I need this printed, so let's just add it to this build plate at the same time. So while this head print does admittedly look quite creepy right now because it is lacking the necessary eyes, these prints once again turned out so beautifully. It's so cool to see Yoda come to life. I mean, he's such an iconic character that just being able to create something like this in your own home is honestly still mind-blowing to me. Here I'm using my heat gun pen to gradually loosen the support material on these prints. I did end up cleaning them off beforehand, but Cleaning all these prints is just the most boring footage in the world, so did not film that. If you've never tried using heat to loosen support material on resin prints, you absolutely need to. Once it's heated enough, it will basically just peel off kind of like Velcro. With these large pieces, I end up using a lot of heavy support, so it is definitely not the easiest thing in the world to remove. The heat just makes it so much easier, and it also leaves the final surface without too many blemishes. You're still going to have a few of those craters here and there, especially with the heavy support. It's just sort of unavoidable. That's why some strategic planning of print orientation is always good. Once I'd gotten all of the support material removed from the parts, I then went ahead and cured everything. And here's what all of Yoda's pieces were looking like now that all of them have been cleaned off, support material removed, and you can truly see all of the incredible detail these pieces have. And I could not resist doing a bit of a test fit. I mean, all of these have been separate pieces this far, and so I really wanted to see what they all looked like together. I also won't be assembling the majority of these parts together because I need to be able to dress him later on. But what I could actually glue together were the torso and leg pieces, the two halves of the cane. I didn't actually need to split this, but I thought that it might print easier if I did, so that is why it ended up in two pieces. And lastly were the hands to the arms. I did a bit of filing. It was the only post-processing I did on any of these parts, and it was just to sand down a bit of where that support material had been to make the two parts fit together a little better. Originally, I wasn't even sure if I would be able to attach the hands permanently or if they would get in the way of being
I don't know why my camera's frozen.